Welcome to a mini masterclass on how to begin marketing your movie, made especially for the Ridgewood Guild International Film Festival. Today I'll be talking to you about how to begin your marketing for your film. My background is I've owned a PR firm for many, many years, and for the last decade I have been marketing entertainers and movies. And when I found that a lot of the marketing principles that are applied to any other product also apply to marketing movies, but there is some industry specific ideas, and we're going to discuss them today. So most of these ideas that I'm going to give you apply to a narrative feature or a short, depending on what you're doing with your short. It may also apply to a documentary. I'll be sharing a screen during this, so bear with me. And first thing I want to do is ask a question, and that question is, when do you think marketing your movie should begin? Think about that. Let me get the answer for you. And the answer for you is right there. You really should start marketing your movie before you start the script, or at least as close as possible to when you are starting to produce the movie. And why is that? First of all, I want to ask you about the goal of your movie. Is your goal you have an overwhelming story that you need to tell, which is true of most filmmakers? You want to make money, which is true of most filmmakers. You want to further your career, which is also true of many filmmakers, especially those using shorts, to use that as a calling card for the future. You have to take all of this and your goals into consideration when you're thinking about how to market your movie. And that is because you want to know who will watch it or who will buy it. So think about, when you're making the movie, what the end result will be. For instance, if you're making a horror movie, horror is a huge genre, always will be. You probably will have a sufficient audience going across many different demographics that will want to watch your movie. Let's say you're doing something about race cars in Italy. You may not have as wide of an audience. You might have some organizations that will partner with you, race car organizations, motor parts, but you may not have as wide of an audience to watch that movie and be interested in that movie as you would a horror film. Another example would be a rom-com. Rom-coms will always be around. They'll always be popular. Sometimes they're more popular than they are at other times. Right now, in 2021, they're quite popular and everyone's making them, but who knows what's going to happen in 2 years from now, because everybody's making them. So consider that, especially if you're making a film to make money. Who is your audience? Now we're coming into something that's a relatively new title that's been, I've heard it on a lot of classes that I've been taking lately. It's the title of Producer of Marketing and Distribution. If you have anyone on your team or know of anyone, this person pretty much comes in at the beginning and looks at everything that you're doing, tries to set the marketing up with the idea of the distribution, because the two are tied. This class will only talk about the marketing, not the distribution, but they are tied, and there's often a person that can do both of this for you, and it's a really important role in a film, and I think it's getting recognized more often, so that more films are having this type of person. Okay, now, when you're marketing your film, you need to get your materials together. And I cannot stress enough that these materials need to be easy to read and very professional looking. No typos, no misspellings, and also a little bit on the formal side. I've gotten pitches that the white type is against a colored photo. I can't read the pitch. I've gotten pitches where they don't address me by name in the cover letter. I'm not going to read that either. So, and that's when you're looking for certain things. And that's what I'm going to describe to you now. So you need your branding materials, and you should start thinking about them early. So you need branding materials, marketing decks, pitches, pitch deck, many different reasons. They are to get backers or investors. The backers could be your friends, you know. Investors could be people that you're searching for in organizations that you don't know. It could also be for crowdfunding. And a note about crowdfunding, I'm putting crowdfunding under marketing because it is your first marketing. I am a believer in crowdfunding if you have someone that can do it, because crowdfunding done correctly takes a lot of time. Pretty much you have to do it every single day. And crowdfunding is good because it gets the name of your film out there. So it gets you notoriety, it gets people knowing about it. And what it also does is, personally, it makes you do it because now it's out there for the world to see. So it's kind of a little push, a little bit of motivation for you. When it's successful, when you're Googling it, it will come up if you're using one of the top crowdfunding sites. And that's also good. That's called an asset. So you'll have a search asset already for you. And it tells people what your movie is. So I am a fan if you want to go that route of crowdfunding for its marketing purposes. And one hint while we're talking about crowdfunding is, if you can, if you know people that will donate, have them donate as soon as you launch the crowdfunding campaign, because that helps it in the algorithm. Another reason you might need the pitches and the marketing materials are to secure different types of producers, to secure your talent, to secure your crew. You also need it to, down the line, you need marketing materials to make your film attractive to buyers or distributors when you're at that point, and also to film festivals when you're looking around at film festivals. And some of these materials for all of these purposes will be the same, but they should be tweaked because they all have a different outcome. For film festivals, you want them to put your film, you want your film in the film festival. You might want to tell them certain things about it. For buyers or distributors, there's other things that you might want to tell them about it. That should be included in your materials for them specifically. I have found that distributors often want things, or sales agents, they want things that could be read quickly. A great one sheet is very important. Your website, press, and of course your film at this point, because you've already gotten your film finished. You also need marketing materials, and this is used to attract the press. You're going to want people to write about you. You're going to want interviews for your cast, your crew, your producers. I have a hint on this, and we'll talk about this more, but you need to put together an EPK, and the EPK is electronic press kit. And I would give you a hint on this when you're putting this together. Make sure the photos are easily accessible and everything is not in PDF form, because I have been on the other side. I've been on the receiving end of the press kits. And if I can't copy and paste a paragraph or a bunch of the actors to use someplace else, I'm not retyping it. So yes, an EPK is very important, but make sure somehow there's a press release or something that someone can copy and paste from, not in PDF form. The other reason that you need marketing materials is to attract an audience to see your film and to pay money for your film. When you get to this level, you will have had a bunch of marketing materials put together already. And hopefully whoever your distribution partner is or who bought it will be working with you on this to create other materials. Okay, now we're going to talk about all of these materials. And as I said, these materials can be a full-fledged pitch deck, an EPK, a one sheet, videos, and you would take elements of each of those and put it in to the audience, for the audience that you want to reach. So these are the things that you need, and you'll use them in different ways. Very, very important is you need the money shot. So you need an image of what your movie is about. And this could change. You could have in your mind an image, and it's the woman, if you have a woman in the movie, a woman looking at another person. And then after you make the movie, you realize, well, maybe that's not really what this movie's about. So that image may change, but you need a powerful image. You also need a slogan. I'm a big believer in, one line or something about what your movie is. You'll never believe this woman's journey. you know, the journey of a lifetime. This could happen to you. You need something like that to draw the viewer in right away. You need a synopsis, which is short and clear. You know, 3 or 4 sentences. I wouldn't go too much longer. You need, once you start getting them, you'll be adding press clippings in, links to any press that you've secured. You'll need some images from the film. You need some videos. And going back to crowdfunding, you still need some kind of video, even if it's the director talking about what you plan on doing in the movie, or some setting location shots to give them an idea of what the movie will be about. You should also have a director statement. Now, something like that, a director statement, you're not going to need that when you're attracting press, really. That's more for when you're looking at crew, looking at distributors. So some of these things aren't always used in everything that you use to pitch. Bios of your crew, bios of your talent. Now, talent also is very much connected to marketing, because just about everyone looks to see who you has in your movie. So if you can afford to get any kind of name talent or any kind of influence or something with a big social media following, and I hate to say that, but it does matter. Social media followings do matter in this world that we're living in right now. Try to secure some name talent for your movie. It will go a long way. It opens doors for film festivals also. If you're working on a pitch deck to secure investors, you need some kind of marketing and distribution strategy. So you need to say that you'll be looking at different ways to sell your movie. You'll be, or, you know, that you might want to try, you know, we're going to be looking at PBS stations, or we're going to be looking into the streamers, or we're going to try everything possible to get the movie in front of as many eyeballs as possible. That matters. That matters in a pitch deck. That matters to an investor. So something like that should be included in that packet. You also should put in photos, behind the scenes or other photos. A picture tells 1,000 words. Photos are very important, but not too many photos. Financials and a budget. This you will need for when you're looking for perhaps, well, investors for sure, possibly your crew, maybe some of your talents. It's important to put something in there about your budget. And one thing about a budget, and I have to put this plug in, but always be sure to include post-production, and in that post-production and even in pre-production and production, put in some marketing dollars. You're going to have to budget for that. And then also financial predictions or comps. This is something I find in pitch decks that it needs to be done correctly. You can't, every movie is unique. Every movie is being released at a unique time. So you can't say, okay, I'm doing a rom-com and here's a list of 10 rom-coms and this is what they did. I've seen that before and it just doesn't work, because you can't compare one movie to the other. Even if they're the same movie, when they're being released, it's going to affect the financial outcome and the distribution possibilities. So I would say, give a history perhaps and say, yes, rom-coms typically do well or reach a certain point if they have this kind of actors in them. But I would be very careful about financially predicting that this movie is going to make millions of dollars. It's not wise. And also, as I said, with the comps, you can comp that your movie is going to be similar to this movie, but please try not to comp it financially speaking, because there's no way to tell that. And a savvy investor will know that there's no way that that's giving proof that your movie's going to do well. And as I said, make sure everything is very professional. If you have to hire someone to put your materials together, you should, because it's what's speaking for you and your film. It's the first vision they get of your film. And if you need any extra advice, if you're making something, please get a focus group together, you know, especially if you're doing a trailer, you know, have focus group look at the trailer, have professionals make any parts of this, or hire a PR professional and marketing professional to look over your materials. Now, these are the things that you will need when you start marketing your movie. And I would say this really gets done even pre-production. got to get a website together. Clean but informative, easy to update, meaning somebody's got to be there to update it because you don't want it to be old and stale. And it's got to be easy. And if you're going to hire someone, you better have the dollars for it, because an outdated website is a turnoff. And website also leads to another thing, marketing the movie, the title of the movie. The title of the movie should be unique. Sometimes maybe you have to use a title that's been used before, but try really hard to get a title that's never been used before, because otherwise your website's not going to show up first, especially if it's something that's been done before. It's been weighted more in search, so that's going to come up before yours. And invest in a good website, something where they're going to rank in SEO. And some of the better sites and platforms for websites, hosting, even they're not expensive, they do really well in SEO. So make sure it's a secure website and make sure that you rank in SEO. And if you don't rank when you type in your exact title, then you have to find out why. Social media is also something very important to set up right away, even pre-production. You can put, there's tons of content that you can put up there. You can hire a social media person to help you think of it. But if you're making the movie, there's lots of things you can do and to talk about the genre, the people in it, what the movie's going to be about without giving too much away. But I was also say, here we go back to who is going to see your film. If you pick the social media, try to pick the social media that's related to your demographic. If it's a movie and it has a bunch of 50-year-olds in it, well, Facebook is probably going to be the place for you to go. If it's got younger people in it, Instagram. It's something, Twitter is also a place that I find very useful for filmmakers, although sometimes I feel like it's just you're shouting into the great abyss. So I would definitely think about what social media to use. A social media where you could also pay to boost. Most of them you can. And just concentrate on one or two. Being all over the place is not going to work and your numbers won't be good. IMDb, also get up in there as soon as possible and keep that current. Now we're going to talk about email list. Email list, even with all of the social media going on these days, an email list is still the best way to reach an audience. That's because if we go on Facebook, we will see what the algorithm decides for us to see that day. And what is it with Facebook? They say less than 20% of all of their stuff coming into the feed actually comes into your feed. So an email list is still the number one way. And I hear this over and over again. So get a list of all your friends, the crew, anyone you're working with, get their emails, put it in an email list and start getting them excited about the film. Don't overdo it. Put an unsubscribe. You can use one of the services like Constant Contact, Chipmunky, I forgot the name of the other one. But get your email list going because that's going to be very, very important. And for all of these, your website, your social media, IMDb, email list, make sure you have people working on this. Try not to do it all yourself because it won't get done. Now we're going to get into pitching your film for the press, which is the core of public relations. It's called earned media. When do you start that? Well, there's different times you can start that. If you're crowdfunding, I would say you can do a little bit of that early on. And you always start local. If you live in, Topeka, Kansas, find your local media and tell them, give them write a press release telling them what you're doing, you're crowdfunding this film. And usually local filmmakers usually get good coverage in local media. So I would start it there. Unless you have another reason, but crowdfunding is always a good way to start local media. Pitching your film for press. Sometimes the first time you'd be pitching your film for some kind of press is when you're in film festivals. A lot of times the film festivals will help you. What I've found, especially with the smaller film festivals, connect with them and say, I'd like to help promote this on my end. And they might give you some wording to use so you can connect with your local media and perhaps they'll give you a plug in what they're doing on their area. Major announcements. If you've just attached a pretty significant name to your movie, that's an announcement. Something like that is probably more interesting to the trade magazines than it is your local newspaper, of course, unless it's tied in with your crowdfunding. So the trades would be interested in this. The trades are tricky to get into. A seasoned PR person can help you get into this, or some kind of PR firm that specializes in film PR will be able to contact them. You could also try yourself if you have something big. They do read their emails. And then the other time when you need film, when you need press for your film, of course, is when your film comes out. That's huge. We'll talk about that. But this is where you can really use some help, some dedicated staff, a PR person, a social media person. You'll be doing press when the film is launched, when you're doing special events, and for each of the windows that your movie goes through. But I will say the best press that you get is really before it comes out, which you really need to get in place 2 months ahead of time so that it's out about a month, 14 days before the movie comes out. It's really important to get out early, and I would suggest getting that trailer out. Interviews are also very good. Sending the movies out for screeners, especially to the smaller media and bloggers, is difficult and time consuming. They have to watch it, and then you're not in control of what the review is. So interviews are always a good thing to offer. Okay, now we're going to get into earned media. As I mentioned before, earned media is something that you don't control. Your social media, your email blasts, those are owned media. Those are things that you control. You can put whatever you want out there and change it at any time. But in order to get really successful with your film and to get good media coverage with your film, you have to throw it out there and hope someone else will catch it on the other end. So you're pitching it, hopefully they catch it and write about it. And I always suggest tailored pitches, meaning don't say, "Dear editor," find out the name of the editor's name, and give a personal note to it. You know, if you're pitching your local media, "Dear John Smith, I've been a resident of Topeka, Kansas, and now I'm making a movie," so on. I would even do that with some of the bloggers, you know, "Dear John Smith, Mr. Movie Reviewer, I know you cover rom-coms. You know, I've got this new rom-com. Would you like to take a look at my trailer?" Tailored pitches always work the best. You also need, when you're doing your earned media, is you need to make lists. PR people are notorious for their lists. And what you will do is have lists for reach media. These are the media that you really want to get into, like Access Hollywood, you know, which is very hard to do, or a New York talk show or an LA-based talk show, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, you know, IndieWire. You want to make a list of like your dream media, and then you have to find out who covers movies like yours and make a list of who you want to reach. Then you have the media you think you can get in, which is your local paper, maybe some movie bloggers that are your friends. There's a lot of movie sites out there. There's a lot of people that do reviews for movies, and you're going to have to put some work into creating a list. Now, if you hire a PR agency that specializes in film, they already have their contacts, and that's really huge. And that is one of the values of hiring a PR firm. And usually, you know, if you'd set aside some money for, you know, I've heard $5,000 and up for a launch for a movie, you can find someone to do it, and it is well worth it, you know, if that is your goal. As again, you have to go back to what your goals are for the movie. Then there's, after reach media, after the media you think you can get, then there's the low-hanging fruit. There's some media that you can just upload to yourself. It could be a local media. It could be an event section. Could be some of the New York event or LA or your hometown event listings, something that you can control on your own. Often this is media that they're used to having people list local events, and your movie showing in a local theater or doing a special screening, that can be considered an event. And those you can upload on your own, and you can change it. And sometimes you can even pay a little bit of money to give it a further bit of reach. Again, that's why you need some money put into marketing. Always put marketing in there. And of course, there's contacts. And those are friends of friends. So this is why, you know, as soon as you start making your movie, if someone says, oh, I know someone, or someone in your crew knows somebody that is a movie blogger, or knows someone at Variety, or someone at your regional paper, that is where you have to have your contacts ready, so that when you have that press release and you're ready to go, you have that person's name. So, okay. So that's getting started in marketing. Marketing is it's a big part of making a movie. And, you know, if a tree falls in the woods, nobody's going to see it or hear it unless you tell people about it. So that's why I'm such a believer in marketing. I'm going to stop the share now. So good luck with marketing. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. I just have my name on the screen. I will be doing an ebook on this, which should be out in 2021. But really think hard when you're making your movie. Think about the marketing much sooner than you thought you would have needed to think about the marketing, because good marketing will really help launch your movie when you have a good movie. So good luck to everyone.